I remember after Fukrey, I rejected almost 22 scripts.
Oh, wow.
You just know which ones are not going to do well.
How did your journey change from business, advertising, PR to get into movies and acting?
Biggest push that my parents have always done is push us into participating.
And do you believe in underdog stories?
100%. My parents are an underdog story. I'm an underdog story. Ashutosh Gowariker wants to test you. You feel there's something special about you. And I was on the short list and I was on hold for 4 months until he told me that you look too young next to the main protagonist, which is Shah Rukh Khan.
What inspired you to start producing?
You know, you can have all the fame and money in the world, but when you've created that impact, and you know your voice is heard and you know you are helping people, it just makes you feel like aapne apna kaam kar liya.
Women participation is at max 15 to 20%.
Where can I create a difference? Wherever I'm in the world. But I want women to not always have stories of survival.
Right.
Just be a hero. Stop apologizing.
And I know that marketing emerging tech is not easy.
Yeah.
And you are able to create such a big impact in the world of NFTs by democratizing access to NFTs so much easily.
If you want to build something, don't just be low-key, be no-key. Build in silence.
The Hustle Group Company. Let me introduce you to the Hustle Group Company. It's a lifestyle brand that's redefining streetwear through the power of fashion, self-belief, and resilience. The second one being Discover Dollar, which is an AI-driven tech company that helps brands and retailers recover hidden dollars from overpayments and leakages. DocsNow's intelligent platform empowers businesses of all sizes to rapidly collect, manage, govern, and collaborate on the data front, transforming your documents and making sure there's an impact on the business bottom line, all in a secure and a single environment. Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of the Innovators and Disruptors Podcast. I'm your host Abhay Tandon, and today this episode is going to talk about a lot of impact too, starting with or revolving around the world of movies, production, acting, media entertainment, entrepreneurship and investments. And to talk about such a multifaceted career and the world of impact, we have an amazing guest with us today, Vishakha Singh. Thank you so much, Vishakha, for joining in.
Thank you so much, Abhay. I'm really excited and looking forward to our conversation today.
So for folks who do not, or I'm sure most people would know Vishakha, but for folks who have not seen Fukrey yet, please do that. She's known for Fukrey, she's known for Haramkhor, she's known for building the first NFT marketplace on India's first NFT marketplace. So I have WazirX. So welcome to the show, Vishakha.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Vishakha, once again for joining us. You've had a fantastic career, very multifaceted. So let's first talk about this, right? I do want to get into your early life in terms of who you've become. But I understand that, you grew up in Abu Dhabi and then from there you came to India. You had a career.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what were certain pivotal moments. What was your early life like before you got into a professional career? Certain pivotal moments in your life which taught you things, certain elements, certain character traits, which you have still taken with you till today?
So, when I was growing up, first of all, I'm the youngest child. I think the youngest in the family are just different and they're very lucky. So I've always carried the lucky girl syndrome with me, always.
Okay.
I've been very, very sheltered, very protected at home. And whatever I am today is a sum total of what my parents are and my siblings are. Because I'm not an original. I'm a copycat of my parents. And so I think my earliest memories, especially in Abu Dhabi, and then from Abu Dhabi, we came to, of all the places, a place called Ghaziabad, right? And even, my schooling was in Abu Dhabi and Ghaziabad. And all throughout my schooling years, I remember there was a lot of love, a lot of nurturing, a lot of protection towards me. And I remember being bullied in school for the way I looked, for my complexion. I remember my sister, who was much older than me, literally coming into the class and, taking me in and protecting me. I've had moments in school when I was once, a vice principal, scolded me for something. And I felt extremely humiliated because I was a very popular kid in school. And I remember coming out of the school and just crying because my brother had come to pick me up. And my brother just turned the car back into the school, went into the vice principal's office, literally, pushed his door open and said, "What did you say to my sister?"
Wow.
Right? So those were the kind of people who've always protected me in my life. And when I was in school, I remember one of the biggest push that my parents have always done is push us into participating in competitions. My earliest memory has been of participating in class 2 in a storytelling competition, and my right leg was shaking, and I managed to just complete the entire story, and I came second.
Wow.
And I remember coming back and telling my parents, I mean, I was of course very happy, but I didn't really want to participate. And my sister, who was the head girl of the school, the house captain of my own house. So every time she didn't have anybody else to, rope into a competition, she would come and just write my name, especially if in my class category. So I had no escape. And I would get very angry because I didn't want to participate. And I remember my father always said, even if you don't win, you've got to give them some competition.
Right.
So I think all of that made a lot of sense. And my final years of schooling, I had the best teachers. So from home, it was my parents who were pushing me, my siblings who were always protecting me.
Right.
So there was this level of nurturing and confidence that was there. And in school, I got so many opportunities, especially in my final years of school. My English teacher, Sonia Ma'am, she's no more, and her husband, who was my principal sir, the kind of competitions they organized in school, it was just amazing with the kind of importance they gave to extracurricular activities to, develop a child's personality. And I remember my principal sir's final letter when I was applying in universities, which now when I look back, I keep thinking, my God, what an astute observation. He wrote, Vishakha is a fantastic actor and a director. She's extremely good at public speaking, and she'd be an asset to your institute. And because I was the cultural captain of the school, I used to write plays in school. I used to direct plays. So a lot of that has been very consistent in my career choices and has helped me in my career choices.
Wow.
So I think the dots always just connect.
No, I mean, that's fantastic, right? And like you said, it was a very astute observation early on in life. And fantastic to hear, a bunch of these stories that you spoke about it. But I was just wondering, I have personally heard, and this is where I think that you contradicted that popular belief, which says that the subsequent children, or child, I mean second or the third one, they're normally overlooked.
I think my siblings would probably agree. And they were not overlooked, but I think my parents were perhaps stricter with them. I think my siblings were more disciplinary towards me than my parents. Because I can tell you, I remember in class 12 when I was studying for boards, and I was awake the whole night studying, and my father came out and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm studying." He's like, "Itna kya padna hai? First aana hai kya? Teacher banna hai? Nahi na? Relax." So I've never had those pressures of, oh my God, exam padna hai. I just don't understand the concept of taking pressure.
Nice. That's very
so
cool.
that's very refreshing. And but my siblings had to go through that.
I'm sure.
I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah, I'm the first child. I'm a first child
of
my parents. So I know what I had to go through versus that of my younger sister. And I've seen that with multiple families, that the parents are a lot more relaxed with the second or the third child, saying that ठीक है, हमने बहुत मेहनत कर ली पहले एक या दो पे, तीसरा बच्चा पल जाएगा, बड़ा हो जाएगा.
पल जाएगा, and also I think it's a very privileged वाली position of a third child or the youngest in the family. Because you have that safety net. You're always the baby of the family. I was able to take so many risks, one after the other in my life, because I knew I had a comfortable home to go back to. I knew I had my siblings. I knew kuch to kar hi logi. So that I think is a great position of strength to be in.
That makes a lot of sense. You spoke very inspiringly about your parents. In the past also you have mentioned it a few times. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the key learnings from your parents early in your life?
Oh, I think if I was to make a YouTube channel on my parents, I think it would inspire an entire generation. And I get very emotional also when I speak about it, because I think they are the biggest driving force in my life. So my father actually, when he was 16, when he lost his father, and he started from rock bottom, and he's really, really built his life. My mother, who actually she came from a home of privilege and wealth. And they both got married. And I remember my mother always telling us that when she got married to him, people asked why they were marrying somebody who was not that rich, why she was marrying. And my grandparents were very clear that as long as the boy is smart and intelligent, he will make money. That is secondary. But she needs to marry somebody she loves, and she needs to marry somebody who is intelligent enough. And that's something, I think that highlighted the importance of the fact that you should not run after money. That can't be your sole factor for choosing a life partner. So that's something that stayed in me. And my parents, again, we had a comfortable life in Abu Dhabi. But my dad decided to be the first entrepreneur in the family and came back to India and set up his own company, which didn't do well. And I think that was, a tough phase for all of us because, I had to see him and my mother struggle through bankruptcy, struggle through a period of 5 to 7 years where we had people knocking at the door. And that was quite a testing time because, I was Veronica Lodge one day, the most popular girl in school with all the cars. Never floozy though, because I think my parents really ensured that we were all always grounded.
Right.
But to suddenly not have that. And then suddenly, when you're going to college, you're taking those DTC buses to go to college, etc. And now looking back, I feel, my God, I think I'm so glad it happened so early on in my life because again, there was I understood the value of money, but I'm not attached to it. I don't run after it. It's a byproduct of everything that you do. But my parents, incidentally, when this happened, they were around, in their mid 40s and early 50s. And everybody in our circle told them, what will they do? You can't rebuild life at 50. And they defied them,
Wow.
So my father rebuilt everything after the age of 50. He's like the phoenix who rose again. And he's literally built an empire of, of the assets that we have. And he and my mother are famous in the family for getting किसी को job लगवा दिया, लोगों की शादियाँ करवा दी, education, किसी की fee भर दी. My mother 10 years ago at the age of 65 learned computers, and she is one of the most renowned Indian Reiki practitioners with students across 33 countries. So I can go on.
Wow.
I can go on about them.
Does that make you stronger? You did mention this, right? Which is, you don't run after money. Money follows, right? Which means that you are a firm believer, I'm assuming, in the fact that value creation and impact is the most, primary or basal thing to do.
Absolutely.
And money is a byproduct of that.
Money, fame, everything.
And do you believe in underdog stories?
100%. My parents are an underdog story. I'm an underdog story. I love underdogs. A lot of my friends are underdogs. So, in fact, even when it comes to investments, the moment I know somebody is an underdog and I see them trying harder and going that extra mile, I really feel like then, supporting them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Probably that's the reason you never invested in my startup.
Well, we'll get to that. But if you see the films also that I produce are all underdog stories. In fact, I've had friends in my industry tell me, "तुम इतनी गरीब फिल्में क्यों बनाती हो? गरीब लोगों की." And,
wow.
And I'm like, you got to tell real stories. The audience taste is changing. But anyway, we'll get to that.
I love the verbiage of it, saying that the गरीब stories क्यों बनाते हो?
I mean, आधे से ज़्यादा हिंदुस्तान गरीब है, उससे भी ज़्यादा.
Exactly.
So if you're not going to tell their stories, I mean, you can definitely tell aspirational stories, but I know where they're coming from because, if you are not the biggest studio in the country, right, and if you are an individual and you are not a big studio, so you are at a startup phase in your personally, right? You are also making stories, independent stories of underdogs, of quote unquote garib people, jiska target addressable market TAM is very small, right? So it's not a smart business idea.
Right.
Then you need a lot of josh and you need a lot of conviction, which I have in noodles. So that's it, banate hain.
Amazing.
Then kar jayenge, that's it.
I think along with the perspective that you shared, what is very interesting for me to always, whenever I have this conversation with you, these kind of conversations with you, is interesting is you have been an actor, producer. Of course, you're an entrepreneur as well. But not often do you hear in a conversation where you have an actor sitting in front of you use the word TAM. Right? So that's so refreshingly interesting for me every time I have this conversation, because you understand the fundamentals of business. In fact, if I'm not wrong, early on in your career or your studies, academics, you were a business grad and you also took up advertising and PR.
Yeah.
Right? So how did your journey change from business, advertising, PR to get into movies and acting?
How did it happen? I knew very early on I was never going to be in STEM. All right, very early on, because the whole impression was STEM was what, at least हमारे टाइम में engineering करेंगे. And I told my mom कि मैं तो 8 साल में निकलूंगी, मैं नहीं कर सकती engineering, because the entire family is full of engineers.
Got it.
So the next best thing was graduation, business studies or commerce or whatever, which is something that comes naturally to me. So every summer and winter breaks, everybody would be relaxing. I would be doing internships, right? And of course, that was the time when my parents were not doing so well.
Right.
So I was very clear that I want to earn my own money. So I have been an intern at the Taj Palace in New Delhi.
Oh, wow.
You know, where I was putting newspapers in the business center and going and putting newspapers under logon ke darwaze ke niche. And I remember once Mr. Pritish Nandi opened the door when I was putting the paper there. I have been an intern at ad agencies, at PR companies, that is when I realized I enjoy PR the most.
Got it.
And again, the dots connect, because if you see throughout my life, I've been doing public speaking. It comes naturally to me now.
Right.
I understand brand management, or at least brand positioning, or so to say. But I got that. So I did that. And as luck would have it, some people spotted me. People started telling me that I should do modeling. So I came to Bombay to visit a friend, got spotted by Mr. Ashutosh Govarkar's assistant, who asked me to audition. And this is 20 years ago for Swades, of all the films. And again, I've never been a person who, kind of woke up in the morning, bachpan mein saying, "Arey bhai, main to badi khoobsurat hu, mujhe heroine banna chahiye." I mean, I'm a child who was bullied for being dark, right? My parents are attractive people, but I knew I wanted to be on camera. Right? So I said, okay, fine. Now when Ashutosh Govarkar wants to test you, you feel there's something special about you. And I was on the short list and I was on hold for 4 months until he told me that you look too young next to the main protagonist, which is Shah Rukh Khan. And that's when I was like, well, if Mr. Ashutosh Govarkar, Oscar nominee director, has spotted me, to kuch to mere andar special hai. So anyway, again, as luck would have it, I got a lot of modeling offers. I consistently acted in all over, I think, 180 commercials, print, TV, small, big, catalogs, whatever you call it. I mean, I've done it all, and it's primarily in the south of India over a period of 10 years. That happened, and then gradually from there, films happened, and again, films were never on the agenda, never. So 2008 to 2010, I did act in films. All of them bombed. 2010 is when Mr. Ashutosh Govarkar called me again for Khelein, Jaan se. That bombed, took a break, and then as luck would have it, 2.5 years later, 2012 to 2014, I acted in 9 films across India because all these directors had seen my flop films.
Wow. No, I mean, you call them flop, but a lot of those movies have been very good. I mean, Khelein Jaan has been a very good movie.
Yes.
Very, very acclaimed movie, right? For the kind of work that came out of it, the storyline, the narratives, right? And I mean, fate is so interesting. You said that you did not do Swades, but then eventually you did come back to work with Ashutosh Govarkar as well, right? So it was amazing to see that journey. But very importantly, what I've noticed is that, you mentioned that you did not have mentors in the industry. A lot of people struggle very hard to get into this industry. It's one of the most difficult industries to get into, as per my understanding, which is something that millions and millions of people aspire. And they struggle, they move to Bombay, they just don't get those jobs, right, that they aspire to. And without having anyone in the family who's been in that industry, you carved a niche for yourself. And that journey itself is very impact creating, right? Because not everyone can do that. Or not everyone has been able to do. They would like to, but they've not been able to do that. What were some key traits that worked out for you? I mean, what helped?
I think deciding not to be part of the crowd really helped. And again, I think that comes back. I always come back to family because that's my core strength. And, the film industry, not just the film industry, any place can be very, very competitive, right? The film industry is more competitive. It can take a toll on you because we are so looks driven, right? You have to have certain looks. Now, of course, things are changing. Things are changing. You have... normal people like you and me being, playing central characters. But back when I started in 2007, you had to be a certain look. You also had to network a lot. back then we would get calls at 10 o'clock at night saying, you'd like to attend this party, these directors are coming, and I would say no. And not many people had the courage to say no.
Right.
So I think that has helped, and I have been very, very clear. I will get it my way or I won't get it, and I'm okay with not getting work. I've been very, very clear on that as well. So and hence I think, especially after working with Ashu sir, again I was very intentional, because prior to working with Mr. Ashutosh Gowarkar, I was working in regional cinemas. While the experience was good, with working with these different production houses, when I worked with Ashu sir, I realized what it is like to work within a professional setup, a very international way of working, and then you simply can't go back. Like once you've raised the bar, you simply can't go back to working in any other way.
Right.
So I think that being intentional really, really helped me. Standing my own ground helped me a lot. And telling people that this is the way I work also helped me, because I think it was good for my mental peace. I remember in 2012, I shifted to Navi Mumbai. And everybody told me, you can't get work if you shift to Navi Mumbai. You are supposed to be in Bollywood. And I remember telling them, yahan hai, to aayega.
Wow.
That's it. I think the other thing that has again helped me is that time, 2012 to 2015, when I started doing more work, it was the time when Indian cinema was changing, right? 2008 and 9, Anurag had already created that dent, right? Anurag Kashyap, where and all these normal, natural-looking actors were taking center stage. So I think that also helped me a lot.
That's amazing. 2-3 very clear call-outs for me, right? One is humility at its best when you say normal-looking people like us, right?
नहीं अभी मैं अच्छी लग रही हूँ, मैंने makeup किया है इसलिए.
Come on. No, that's amazing to hear. In fact, you've gone ahead and produced movies like Haramkhor and Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and a lot of other actors are beautiful, amazing actors, right? Their acting speaks louder than anything else, right? But they're not typically classified as the heroes of the yesteryears, right? That is how we have perceived the male protagonist to look like a hero with a certain physique and certain skin tone or looks and whatnot, right? But they're beautifully amazing actors. I've loved their movies. And you're talking about the whole shift, right? I remember I was in France. I was in a city called Lille, which is like a town from an Indian standards, right? North of France. I was studying there, and on one of the days I was told, why don't we go for this movie? And for the first time in France and in Lille specifically, there was a Hindi movie that had come up.
Which one was it?
Gangs of Wasseypur.
Oh, of course, France. Yeah, we were there all of us were there.
Yeah?
In fact, Gangs of Wasseypur 2012, it did so well because Anurag and Guneet had taken an entourage of, I think, 40 actors or 140 actors? But we said हम बारात लेके आए हैं, because Peddlers was also screened at the same time. And again, you mentioned Haramkhor, but Haramkhor and Peddlers, I would give full credit to Guneet Monga. In fact, one of the reasons I became a producer, I think she was one of the reasons. She was one of the people who inspired me, because I just knew there was a role model out there, and Guneet she's such an inspirational hustle story, from where she's come and what she's built. Similarly, again, in the startup space, it would be Richa Kar, who's a very dear friend of mine from Zivame, because she was one of those early entrepreneurs, who basically, I think, literally opened doors for a lot of us. So yeah, but we'll come to the startup space later. But yes, it's been Guneet who's really been inspiring.
In fact, very interestingly, you mentioned another point, right?
Yeah.
Which was around how you cut off yourself from getting into a frenzy.
Yeah.
When I say that, I mean, for example, it could be as simple as not going and attending a particular party.
Which I do all the time. I don't go to parties.
You don't go to parties at all, right?
At all.
So, I mean, but I think it saves people from that frenzy, because you get into that loop where, you are constantly trying to be there, get that validation. And validation has multiple ways. I mean, there are multiple ways to get validated, right?
Yeah.
Your work can be validated in so many other ways. It doesn't have to mean that, you have to adopt the most obvious ways of doing that. But a lot of people who do that, irrespective of the industry that they are in, you get into a loop, you get into a frenzy, and that frenzy drives you crazy.
Absolutely.
So I think that was a fantastic message for a lot of people out there who are trying to break into that. If you are in a position where you can say that, I'm willing to not get a particular project, but I'm not going to necessarily do things which would land my brain in a frenzy, then you have a higher probability of maintaining sanity, which will lead to the right kind of doors opening for you.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That's profound. In fact, I think it was in 2013 that Fukrey happened.
Oh, yes.
Right? I mean, a fantastic movie. I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And coincidentally, you said that you are not good at accounts.
I was
you
not.
were an accounts teacher.
So, again, this is another story. I think life comes full circle because I wasn't great at accounts, right? And then I end up playing this accounts teacher. And this line of, debit what comes in, credit what goes out becomes this iconic line. And bhujia ke piece ka bachcha becomes another iconic line.
True.
And I've realized that every time as an actor, when we are doing a character, playing a character, we of course bring our character to the table and bring elements of our character into the character we're playing.
Right.
And sometimes we take away the elements of the character that we've played. And I think Neetu Ma'am has stayed with me.
Oh, nice.
She has stayed with me and I've grown. And now that I've been an entrepreneur and a producer, I kid you not, I've realized as a business person, accounts and legal are my two best friends. I can't do without them. Like every decision of mine is, hello, call the accounts, the CA, and call my lawyer.
Wow,
Everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. In fact, if I'm not wrong, that was probably one of the bigger hits in your career from an acting standpoint in Bollywood. And I think that must have led to a lot of other offers also.
It did. So, and especially at the same time in 2013, I had another huge hit in South India. It was called Kannala Dittinasya. I don't even know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it was one of those Chashme Badur types super hit comedy films, and where I actually danced. And that's something I'm really scared of. But so that was a moment when I started getting a lot of offers. And I remember after Fukrey, I rejected almost 22 scripts.
Oh, wow.
Because, you just know which ones are not going to do well. You just know, right? Even in the startup ecosystem or in the VC space, a VC fund will invest in, I don't know, say 10, 20 startups.
Yeah.
How many will do well? Which one will become a unicorn? What percentage?
Very few. I mean, there's a very low probability.
Right, you invest in 10, maybe 2, right? Maybe 1.
Not
right, so maybe 100.
Yeah.
Same thing with films, right? You got to act in at least 20, 30, 40 films. And then unless, of course, you are, supported by a big studio that has access to the best of script writers, etc. So almost 50% of all your films will be successful. But to get there, you need to, as actors especially, you need to act in a lot of mediocre content as well. And that is why I feel that's one of the reasons I pivoted. Because, while I have this attitude in life, opportunity whether I'm prepared or not, as long as it's exciting me, I will take it up. I'll learn to figure it out along the way. But from acting to producing actually happened because I realized that I was not enjoying the offers that were coming my way, And especially I remember in 2014 and I got this offer from a director who was like, I've got this great script for you. And I'm like, हाँ लड़की करती क्या है? She's like, she's waiting to get married. And I'm like, हाँ, but करती क्या है? Ma'am, she's got great costumes. I said, अरे, but करती क्या है? सोचती क्या है? Ma'am, गाने बहुत अच्छे हैं. I said, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I simply can't. Fortunately, parallelly, I was investing or co-investing, so to say, in Peddlers and Haramkhor, and that had opened the doors. But I just knew. I said I would rather just be remembered for Fukrey than do things that I'm not okay with. And this is where I agree with what Nawaz once said in an interview. Nawaz said that, when people ask him, why did you not give up? You stayed on for 17 years until you got that one big break. He said, मैं वापस जाता तो मेरा माहौल same था. Right? So he had nothing to look forward to there and he stayed on and he made it big. Whereas I came from a home of privilege. Right? And that is where I think हम लोग वो बेचारे weak नाजुक बच्चे we were like नहीं भैया struggle तो नहीं होगा लेकिन किया मैंने बहुत किया but I just knew that as a person, it was not giving me that kind of satisfaction.
That makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, we are seeking that satisfaction, right? It's not just fame, it's the satisfaction of doing what you're doing. Fantastic. But you said that, you're known for Fukrey, but you actually won an award as well.
Yeah.
Very well-recognized award for Khelein Jaan as well. How was that experience?
Well, it's nice. I think it feels nice. But I think the biggest rewards for me lately have come from my teachers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing to hear. But you've also acted in so many different industries, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I think it was not just Hindi, but Tamil, Telugu, and others as well. Did you find that the confluence of these perspectives and the learnings from different industries in the movie industry too, but different regional industries, did that lead to better content creation, the learnings from there?
Because see, with every project, you have your set of learnings, right? I think the South film industry, they're technically far superior, right? They have a great eye for, they're just very talented creatively as well, extremely talented. From my perspective, because you're the actress, right? Unfortunately, your stake in the project is very small, or your role in the project is relatively lesser than the other stakeholders. I think on a personal level, what I learned to do was memorize dialogues in languages that I didn't understand. And why that is important is because people would change lines on set, right? And I had to emote while the camera is on, ensure that the work is finished on time. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I've had, is you got to finish the work on time. Because there's a lot of money attached to what we're doing. That is something I got trained very well, very, very well for. And the second thing is, every time I was on film sets, if there was something that I didn't like, I made a mental note of that and said I would not do that on my set. For instance, I was on a film set in Bombay, wouldn't name the producers. And I was there at 7 a.m. call time. And we had packed up at 1 a.m. last night. Like 6 hours later, I was on set again. And I'm sitting for my hair and makeup. And I'm like, get me my breakfast. And they get me breakfast. And my team is not eating breakfast. And I asked them, I said, why aren't you guys having breakfast? And they're like, nahi, producer ne sirf chai aur biscuit rakha hai.
Ouch,
and I'm like, I couldn't eat my breakfast. So of course I ordered, but how many people can I order food for? So that is something I made very sure of. I said, no matter what, there'll be always good food on set, and there wouldn't be, category A, B, C kind of food demarcations that people do. Because, our lightmen work the hardest. They come at 1 o'clock we packed up, they must have gone home at 3, and they're again at 5.
Wow.
Or maybe not even gone back, just slept there. So you got to ensure that at least people are well fed. There's another set that I'm aware of in a Marathi film that I was associated with. And it's funny. A couple of friends I wasn't there, but a couple of friends of mine had visited the set, and they went with their food. And they were given one chicken piece. And they said, ek boti, do roti is all you get.
Oh, wow.
So food rationing. And I understand where budgets come from. Then don't do that.
Yeah.
So those things really, really irk me. And I've ensured that I don't repeat those on my set.
Wow. Those are amazing learnings. And it also talks about ethics, right? Which is very critical, I think. Something that more often than not we see are seldom being utilized today. Things are changing, and I'm thinking that there's constant thought in my head about Gen Z's changing the way we are talking about ethics today.
They are absolutely.
So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
In fact, quick anecdote from my life, right? There was this movie back in the day that I had auditioned because.
Oh yes, I think the audience needs to know that you've been an actor too.
It's a small role. But yeah, I mean, I gave it a shot. I loved theatre back in the day. So I gave it a shot. My neighbor and very close friend, Shrikant's uncle is Shekhar Kamala.
Oh, amazing.
So he was making a movie called as Happy Days.
Yeah.
And Shrikant told me, Abhay, one, you auditioned. Two, you...
What year was that?
This was probably 2007? 6, 7?
Must have been 7, because I think... I don't know. No. Happy. After that, somebody had called me for Shekhar Kamala's film. And they referred... they gave a reference of Happy Days.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
So I was doing my engineering, so it has to be 7 year. You're correct, right? Because I was in my 3rd year, and I auditioned. They selected me for a role. They asked me to do either 120-day contract, And I was very
120-day contract.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
they were like, we can call you at any point of time. And I was very worried because I had never had backlogs in my life and exams. And I was like, what about my third year, second sem exams? And they were like, screw it. If we call you, you call. You come.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I didn't act in it except for some side roles. But I remember in one of the days, the AD, Mani Gopal, he called me up and he said, Shrikant gave my number to him and he said, Abhay will help you in terms of filming a few scenes and figuring out the right locations in the society that we lived in. So that's when I met a lot of those protagonists, including Tamanna Bhatia. That was the first movie. That's fantastic. No, in fact, I was just lucky to be at the right place at the right time. I was like you said, right, the lucky girl syndrome. I don't know. I was just lucky, but I obviously didn't pursue it. Not seeing that it could have been any different. Maybe I was just being one of those struggling actors who wouldn't have gone further. But I mean, that happened. So it was interesting for me as an experience. But coming back to you, very interestingly, I noticed that, there was a transition into production. You said that, while you were doing movies, you also gradually started co-producing movies, right? How did the transition come in? What inspired you to suddenly start producing movies?
So, I was always interested in the story of the underdogs, right? If something is already a success and you're creating more of that, that's great, I think. And back then, of course, I wasn't thinking like that. I was very instinct driven. Guneet had put out a Facebook post saying, we're trying to have a Kickstarter and we're trying to crowdfund, not Kickstarter, we're trying to crowdfund this film. And Peddlers was a film that never really released. We did sell it off to Eros, but it never released. And it had Nimrat Kaur, it had Gulshan Devaya, some very interesting actors in the film. And it is a story of 4 immigrants. Okay. It was a beautiful story, and that just called out to me. I wanted to invest, and it was small monies, and I had enough savings. And I think thanks to my father's teachings, I always was good at savings.
Amazing.
So I had enough money to invest, and we were a lot of us. I think initially we were 4 co-producers, then became 8, and then we did sell it off successfully to Eros, but the film unfortunately never released.
Okay.
And then she was making Haramkhor with Nawaz, and by then I already had an equation with Nawaz because I had done a film with Nawaz that also never released. That's another part of the film industry, right? You can act, but a film may just not release. So, and Haramkhor again was an interesting thing. And I said, okay, fine, let's do this. But by the time I decided to stop acting, and I had shifted to Rome, of all the places, I got such a macro view of the world, I was exposed to European cinema, and I was on the jury of a couple of international film festivals. And I just knew that you didn't need big monies to make the kind of films you wanted to make. And as destiny would have it, Mr. Pradeep Kurba, the Assamese director, reached out to me and my partners in the business, and he wanted to make this film. And this story, Onaatah, actually touched me because it was a story of a rape survivor. And I said, this has to be told. And this story broke so many barriers and molds, and it won the National Award in 2016.
Right.
So, you can have all the fame and money in the world, but when you've created that impact, and your voice is heard, and you are helping people, it just makes you feel like aapne apna kaam kar liya, because how much, I'm not going to get into, again, how much money can you earn, etc. But just the joy of creating impact and making a difference is something, it's at another level altogether.
I'm sure.
Then, of course, in 2020, I produced Atkan Chatkan, which is a children's film with which Mr. A.R. Rahman presented. And Bachchan sir sang a song in it for just 1,100 rupees.
Wow.
And that is, again, a story of underdogs. It's street children who want to become, they want to have their own band. And it's on YouTube now because he has released it on YouTube as well. And I'm just so glad that I was able to follow my heart in all of these films.
No, but what is very interesting is you did not give me the titles of 20 movies, right? You gave me limited titles, but each of them have done well. They have been awarded at various places. They have got a lot of very interesting people participating in it as actors or presented by, like, for example, Atkan Chatkan by A.R. Rahman, Mr. Bachchan, singing a song there.
Yeah.
They've all been very critically acclaimed movies.
Yeah.
And I personally know, because I'm a content buff, that I love watching meaningful cinema because of amazing societal messages.
Yeah.
And I think, with all due credit, you have been producing or investing in those movies which can potentially create so much of a, such a strong positive impact in the society through the narratives, through those messages. So that is so wonderful to see, because there's a lot of cinema out there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of content out there. A lot of that is very crass as well. I'm not sure if I would particularly watch that. I watch movies, a lot of movies, a lot of content inspires me.
Yeah.
Right? It gives me so many different perspectives sometimes, and I realize that, wow, and that is why I also love underdog, stories. So with you producing some of them and you winning so many accolades for that, it's so wonderful to see that you've spotted those scripts early on and kind of decide to co-invest in. I was looking forward when I read about Peddlers.
Yeah.
I was actually looking forward to seeing that. It's so disappointing that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But and in fact, that brings me to another question, right? So all the very best for the upcoming
Thank
series.
you.
I'm sure I'm going to be watching that.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of others are going to as well. They must be excited about it. I saw on Facebook, I was researching and I saw your photographs over the years. I think there was one set of photographs which you had labeled year after year.
Oh, yes. From
Right.
2010 onwards.
Yes. So 2010 was Cannes for the first time?
Yes, that was Cannes for the first time.
I was actually noticing 2010 Cannes versus 2012 Cannes. There's a lot of difference in the photograph, right? It
Yeah.
looked like the first photograph was that of a excited
I was an excited
young girl.
bacha. And I'll tell you why. I had manifested it. Early years was all about heels and looking good. Now it's like wear your flat shoes, because Cannes Film Festival is all about networking and walking. So if you see somebody in high heels or really decked up, you just know they're fresh off the boat.
Wow. Okay. No, and then I saw the 2012 pic
Yeah.
where there was a lot of poise, gravitas. There was this transformation from the eyes being so excited to a lot of poise. Like someone very seasoned in there. What was your best moment across these years, in terms of accolades or achievements?
It's funny that's not been in the film industry. At least in terms of the joy that I've experienced. And I've experienced quite a lot of joy,
Okay.
right? And I got quite a lot of accolades, so to say. I think the maximum amount of joy that I drew was from the NFT marketplace under WazirX.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to get into that as well, because,
The joy and sorrow both.
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that comes, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a hand in glove kind of situation, dono ek saath to aati hi aate
Yeah,
hai,
yeah.
upar niche. But yeah, I mean, across the journey that you've spoken so far of the movie industry, both acting and production, I could see so many analogies of entrepreneurship and the
Yeah.
learnings, right? How did certainly entrepreneurship happen? All this while production, and of course, production is entrepreneurship in that sense of, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, going back to my parents, because I've seen them take so many risks and rebuild life. So risk doesn't scare me. I mean, what is the worst? You will fail, right? What will happen if you'll fail? You will learn,
You learn.
right? And you will grow again. And life, no matter what, will always be this. That is the life ka thing, right?
Yeah.
If it becomes straight, phir to you're dead. You're either just existing. So and risk taking is all I understand. I don't know what it's like to have a regular paycheck. It comes in lump sums, and then I invest, right? Of course, regular paychecks come now with all the assets, properties that I have. That's a separate thing. But I'm saying in terms of choices, modeling. I remember modeling days. My checks used to come 3 months, 6 months. So entrepreneurship happened in 2017 when a few kids reached out to me saying they wanted me to endorse their app, and they wanted to pay me 20,000 rupees.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought it was so sweet and naive of them to say, we'll pay you 20,000 rupees, and they were paying it from their salary, which was even cuter.
Okay.
So anyway, as luck would have it, I said, okay, no. And then we became we started building together. And this, as I said, if I'm curious about something, I will just dive into it. So anyway, we built something called Iconic Bot, which was conversational AI in 2017. Iconic Bot happened in 2017. Now that made sense to me because, why do we get so scared of technology? Because we're like, "Arey, STEM hai." Arey, bhai, but technology is supposed to be easy, right? All the devs will fail if it's not easy.
Right.
How will you have adoption?
Right.
So the tech team was doing their job, and my co-founder said, let's build something for your space. What do you need? And I said, I need to connect with my audience. So we built Iconic Bot, and we just targeted people on Messenger. I had, I think, 1 million followers on Facebook, and I would be able to engage just on Messenger almost 60,000-70,000 people. I have sold 8,000 movie tickets of Fukrey via my Iconic Bot on my own Messenger.
Oh, wow.
We were able to collectively, we made Iconic Bot, personalized chatbot for Kamal Hassan sir's Vishwarupam, Samantha's U-Turn, Vijay's Mercil. A lot of these films, we sold over 31,000 tickets. But I realized in India, nobody wants to pay because they're Vishakha, yaar, apni friend hai na. So you're like, friend hai, but I'm providing you value.
Right.
And we were so new in the game that we didn't know how to close deals with even these, with Paytms, etc. Saying, give us this percentage of the sales.
Right.
Whatever, right? We didn't know how to do that. We were just excited ki, we've
Impact
broken the internet, impact hai, value hai. And suddenly, meri news aa rahi hai, Vishakha Singh has become an entrepreneur. So that was very new. I was like, oh, wow, wow, that short-term validation and all of that.
Right.
Then over the years, I realized, okay, if the ticket size is only going to be 7 lakhs and 10 lakhs per month, this is not going to fly. Right. So we pivoted, and because I was very active in the international speaking space as well, speaker space as well, I was invited by by Sheldon Levy from Canada to set shop there, and we pivoted to making 4-5 app, which was an app for Instagram influencers. So if I had say 400 comments on my page or on my post, I was able to give unique persona-based replies to all 400 comments within a span of like 5 minutes.
Got it.
Right?
Wow.
So that was value. And then in the pandemic, we pivoted again and we created the NFT marketplace. So if you see, the central theme was always community throughout. My audience, and creators throughout.
Makes a lot of sense.
And then we got lucky because WazirX then acquired the company. So I just went by my gut instinct. And again, parallelly, films continued to happen because I had a team by then that was doing it. So it didn't require me to spend 8 hours, 12 hours. WazirX NFT was the first time when I experienced a little bit of more structure in a corporate setting, and something that I was driving on my own. I was able to pass my own litmus test, I would say, because I was able to build a strong community. I was able to lead a team. I was able to do everything non-tech,
Right.
Be it brand building, be it PR, be it education, be it sales, be it community building, be it content management, and all with a team of just 4 people under me.
Wow.
And of course, I loved the structure of that was the first time I got exposed to Keka software. That was the first time I got exposed to Slack, Trello. And I was like, what if I can just copy paste this to the film industry? Because the film industry is chaos.
Yeah.
And you need more structure. And I've realized I'm a very structured person. I love structure. I love to know my start time, end time. And the advantage, of course, there was that because I don't have any corporate background, I was not aware of any toxic work cultures, and I set my own culture there, which was if your spouse has a birthday, please take time off. If you're calling me at 7 o'clock to tell me today's update, not happening, 5 o'clock, cut off time. Those things. But yeah, I enjoyed my phase, and then I learned so much about blockchain.
Exactly.
I learned so much about blockchain. I learned about new technologies. I learned about digital assets. I learned about newer technologies. I learned about startups in the space. I learned more about investments in the space. I think another world opened up, and I ended up advising startups in this space. I ended up becoming NFTC's blockchain advisor for Ifigoa Festival in 2023.
Right.
Things I would have never imagined. And this is all upar ka. I have no role to play in it.
Wow. That's again being very humble. But you said that you took care of all business side activities.
Yeah.
But of a company which was or is into exponential technologies,
Yeah.
right? NFT had not been mainstream at then.
Yeah.
I think it became mainstream. It's again gone down.
Yeah.
So is the case with blockchain.
Yeah.
And these are very, very technical in nature as technologies. Of course, technologies have to be technical, but not mainstream yet. I mean, not something that laymen could talk about easily. Even today, majority of the large organizations, their MDs would probably, if you ask them a question, what do you understand of blockchain, they'll probably not be able to speak much about it, right? So you came into that environment, learned that just even if you had to market something like this. I say this because I've been into emerging tech for a decade now, and I know that marketing emerging tech is not easy.
Yeah.
And you are able to create such a big impact in the world of NFTs by democratizing access to NFTs so much easily. And I think that is where your whole power of community shows up. You want to add something to that whole experience?
All I can say is that I did my part, but I think it was a community, because 2021, it was the pandemic, right? And there were a lot of technologies that kind of made hay while the sun was shining back then, right? But it was the community that just changed the game, because they were so, of course, by nature of it being a blockchain based community, it was extremely democratic. There was a lot of participation, but the community was very supportive. And when, after I left, and when WazirX decided to basically sunset the whole thing, it was a community that fought and said, we want it, give it to us. And I think that was a testament to our success. When a community wants to own a product and is fighting for it. So I think kudos to the community, what they did.
But fantastic. Any other key technologies, Vishakha, that you think are going to be super interesting for us to look at, specifically when you wear an investor's hat as well?
Anything at the intersection of, AI, content, primarily. And blockchain, of course, but yes, AI and content.
Very interesting. You say this because you have a very strong experience both in media and entertainment and entrepreneurship, Web3, blockchain, etc. How do you see these fields combining and converging together in the future?
I think moving forward, see what's happening is everybody is becoming a creator now, right? 15, 17 years ago when I started off, my biggest hurdle, sabse pehle on the first day of landing in Bombay and deciding to get a gig, was how to face a camera. How would I prepare? I would look at my thumb or put a bottle and say, okay, this is the camera. Hi, my name is Vishakha Singh, blah, 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 blah. Just to get used to the fact that there's a camera and you need to be natural. Right. Kids are born and they're playing with computers, right? They have phones. So people are very comfortable. So everybody is a creator. Camera is your best friend. You can probably sleep with the camera on. And that's what's happening, right? People are streaming. Everyone's a Truman's Show now. So when that happens and you have these bite-sized short form content that's coming out, connection is going, right? Switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. That's also happening across industries, even in human lives, etc. Moving forward, I think producers will have to create emotionally strong content, and you'll have to design experiences that can evoke emotions from the audience, right? And the audience will look for deeper experiences if you want them to move out of their homes and their phones, to travel in traffic, to either come. And I think traditional format will continue. But I foresee a lot in terms of AI helping us create AI actors. But probably even moving into the metaverse in VR and AR space, and probably, who knows, at some point having a hologram. Like today, if I have a hologram that can probably, be here and we can see Brad Pitt performing, somewhere, or some other actor in Broadway performing there, and we can see right here, I think that would be amazing. That's something I'd look forward to.
Yep, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember 2018, 19, there was a startup called Entropic Tech. I think that was the name of the startup. Entropic was very exciting for me because they had these sensors that you would put on your head. And there was a camera as well, which would look into your eyes, right, for retina scan. And the sensors would do the brain mapping.
Oh,
the brainwave mapping.
Yeah.
And they asked me to look at a particular ad. A minute and a half ad. Now we know that an ad typically on TV cannot be a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Showed me that to understand what were my brain reactions that I probably wouldn't know even if I was put at a focus study group, right? Because I may think of it qualitatively, I may not be able to quantify whatever going on, whatever emotions are going on in my head or my brain. But this device was able to detect that, and they were able to see the spikes and the kind of emotions that I was going through when whatever scene was going and transpiring.
How interesting.
And where exactly on the screen was I looking at as well.
Yeah.
So from a product placement standpoint, or to cut down the ad to the right kind of highs and lows, which have to be created, could be captured through that. And I was like, wow.
There's so much science behind content now, especially for kids.
Yeah.
The colors that they choose, everything is designed to just hook you. Right?
Very true. Yeah. I still feel that there's a lot of amazing art. I mean, the narratives, the beauty of narratives, yes. AI can tell you a certain key parameters that one needs to look at to make or to touch the lives of people in an emotional way, to evoke those emotions. But the beauty behind storytelling is still very human friendly.
Absolutely. And that's why you have to use AI as assistants. They can't be the drivers, right?
True.
You use them well so that you can bring in efficiencies. For instance, if I have scripts that need to be doctored, right? And even for my film contracts, I just upload the contract and say, just find out the loopholes, right?
True.
That's where it helps you. So yeah, AI has to be used as an assistant and not as a driver.
Makes a lot of sense. In fact, I wanted to also check on this. You mentioned that people approach you very early in your entrepreneurship career about being a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
Are you open to being a brand ambassador?
Absolutely open to being a brand ambassador, because I've realized that as a person, I love creating. I love the journey. Okay. And like we all have a fire number. What is that number that we want to achieve to retire early, right? And that number changes. I have achieved the number that I wanted to achieve 20 years ago, right? And that number changes always. Greed has no end.
True.
So your metric has to change. Now I'm very open to because I get to experience by being a brand ambassador, being associated with these startups, even as an investor, I get to experience the founder journey again.
True.
And that gives you the dopamine hit. But there has to be due diligence, of course, in place. And it has to be people who are similar to me.
Makes a lot of sense.
Similar vibes, similar ethics, etc.
No, I think that is also because you're not just involved as a brand ambassador, because I've seen a lot of actors today, men or women, invest in startups.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between being invested versus being strategically involved.
Yeah.
Right? Because I see you in a lot of these journeys that we spoke about as well, being strategically involved, which means you're not just talking about doing a couple of commercials for them.
Yeah.
You're talking about helping them build out their brand. You're helping them build their marketing strategies.
Absolutely. And so on. In fact, commercials is what I want to stay away from. I don't want to be the face. Like I've had a D2C brand, skincare brand that has reached out saying, we'd like you to be the face of it. And I'm sorry, I'm past that stage of meri twacha. I'm just past that stage. It doesn't,
you don't want to do
that's not me. That is not me. I have moved on from a space of look at me to learn from me. Right? Today, as an act of resistance, I don't post on social media. I have deleted apps. That's an act of resistance, because I will not give in to the algorithm, and I'll not give in to that hamster on a wheel.
Right.
This thing. So if I'm going to create content, it has to be meaningful. And I'm definitely going to be strategically involved. In fact, when I get pitch decks, I instinctively know चाहिए यहाँ correction करना चाहिए, यहाँ correction करना चाहिए, इनको ये packaging बदलनी चाहिए, my mind just starts working. Then I have to say, okay, hold. I haven't even met the founders yet. Stop thinking.
Yeah. Vishakha, very interestingly, in one of your conversations or talks, you spoke about gender gap in the Web3 world as well, the NFT world as well. You said women participation is at max 15 to 20%.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that, you've been contributing towards the cause of women empowerment, women in tech, women otherwise in entrepreneurship as well. Do you want to share a few perspectives around this topic as well?
I think, the gap is across industries, right? Where can I create a difference? Wherever I'm involved. So, in fact, I remember even on my film set in 2020, when I was producing Atkan Chatkan, we were in Jhansi and we were on set, and I realized we were 120 of us and there were only 7 women, including me. And that was my wake-up call. And I said, how could this happen? And this is me who's produced a woman-centric film that has won a national award. And I go and produce my next film, children's film, where there are 120 people. So a woman-centric film in front of the camera, fine. But behind the camera, what am I doing? So I said, this cannot happen. 7 out of 120 cannot happen. So when WazirX NFT happened, we realized that while behind the scenes, of course, we were 14 of us behind the scenes in the team, and there were 2 women. But that's okay. That was the way it was, you know. But in terms of the community, I realized that if, you know, we were doing well, we had a good set of NFT collectors, etc. We had good sales. But we had some 2 or 3 traders who were collecting NFTs, women traders. And I said, if we want to increase this number, we need to have role models, right? Because I got into the startup space because of Richa. Because I knew there was a role model that I had. Richa Kar was a role model. As a film producer, I had a role model in Guneet. In life, of course, my role models have been my parents, my mother, my father, right? If we don't create role models, people wouldn't know what to dream of. So we said, okay, let's highlight these success stories. And what we did was we highlighted NFT female creator stories also, because when these female creators were highlighted and spotlighted, their works, they had good savings and they had good sales.
Right.
With these sales, they had savings and they became NFT collectors. So we were able to have conversions as well. And then we got this number up from 2% to almost at 16% there.
That's huge.
Yeah. So we had a lot of campaigns. And also I want the narrative to change. You know, we love underdog stories, yes. But I want women to not always have stories of survival.
Right. Of course.
Just be a hero. Yeah. Stop apologizing. You know, yes, because, and again, this is something I learned from Saurabh Shukla ji years ago in 2008 when he said, yaar, sabki dukh ki kahani hoti hai. Maza to tab hai, tum kahani mat batao, kaam kar do. Just, and that's true. All of us have sad stories. You know, how much do you focus on that positive and then move forward? So now when my niece is a podcaster and she's a climate activist,
right,
and she's in the solar energy space, I keep telling her, don't be modest. You know, talk.
Yeah.
Now I may probably not reveal numbers, but when I am in a close circle with people, I tell them how much money I've raised. Because I want other women to talk about it openly. Don't shy away from it.
Yeah. And on top of that, when you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's fantastic. In fact, you know, a lot of times you talk about certain actors, and when you know, for example, quoted Saurabh Shukla ji as well, in my head, I could imagine the voice with which he would say this, right? Because I've seen him on screen.
And I was a very young actor when he said that. I doubt if he'd even remember it, but that stayed with me. Maza to tumhe, tum tukki kahani mat sunao mujhe. You know? I said, oh, okay, cool.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. In fact, your work in terms of, you know, impacting lives or impacting people around you is not just limited to women empowerment, right? You've also been involved in a lot of other social causes. For example, you were helping Santi Soundarajan as well in securing a job in the Tamil Nadu Sports Development Authority as well. Yeah. What was that whole situation about, and you know, what are the other causes?
So, you know, my hit film had just released in 2013, and I was invited after that to Coimbatore for an event where I met Shanti Soundarajan. And the person that I am, I wear my emotions on my sleeves. And I heard stories of her being thrown out of her own home. I started crying on stage. And it was embarrassing for me because I just started I said sorry to her. I said, I'm sorry you had to go through it, because I come from such a home of love and protection. I can't imagine your family abandoning you, you know. Even it's such a core of who I am. And I said, something needs to be done. And I only know storytelling. So we made a video and we released it, and that went viral. And the impact that it had was, we had these, you know, those change.org, you know, those signatures, the petitions that we had. Yeah. We had a lot of signatures that happened because of that video, and then we were able to secure a job for her.
Makes a lot of sense.
You know,
that's very profound statement as well. Vishakha, on that note, you know, since you're talking about leaving an impact, what's the kind of legacy that you would want to leave, considering that, you know, you have done so many different things, you know, from media entertainment to production, acting production, technology, entrepreneurship, investments. What's the kind of legacy that you think you would want to leave eventually?
Yeah, legacy, honestly speaking, I don't think one should even think on those lines, because the moment you say legacy, yani ki main Vishakha Singh, meri legacy, I have zero ego. Please forget me. I don't care. As long as I'm able to create that impact, that will create a larger impact, right? Okay. Maybe I'm a catalyst in somebody's life and that person is going to do something. It's okay. Because today, if you look at it, when you think of the story of feminism, there were so many women who've played a part and we don't even know their names. It's okay. It's okay to be nameless. I don't want any legacy. I just want to do good work. And perhaps be remembered by my niece and her children when I leave. But Baki, there's no such thing. Because I think even history can be now changed on the internet. Right?
True. Very true.
So I may be a nice person now, but who knows? Some AI thing will vilify me in the future when I'm not around. Who knows? Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
So
That's true.
no dreams of any legacy.
Okay, that's very modest of you, but that makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. Yeah. And on that note, we're going to enter the last segment, which is very original segment, which is called the rapid fire segment.
Oh, wow.
So,
Will I get a gift hamper? But there's no competition.
You have a gift hamper. We have
Really?
one waiting for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's personalized too.
Nice.
So I'll get to that too.
Yeah.
But before that, we have amazing rapid fire round, the last round.
And it has to be rapid.
It has to be rapid. It has to be super rapid.
Okay.
So I'm going to sit up straight.
Yes, me too.
And I'm going to ask you a bunch of these very interesting questions, right?
Okay.
What's that one book that has significantly influenced your entrepreneurial journey?
None. There is a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. If I'm right. Oh God, I don't even. Anyway, next question.
Okay. If you could have dinner with 3 innovators or disruptors from any time in history, I mean currently alive or has passed away back in time as well, who would they be?
Can't think of 3. I can only think of Hedy Lamar, the actress she was in the 1930s. She is the person responsible for, what was that? Frequency hopping spread spectrum, which was the underlying technology for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You got to look her up. Fantastic. I would love to have some dinner with her and Eartha Kitt, of course. Yeah.
Well, amazing. What's a common misconception about the NFT space that you would like to correct?
NFTs are a product that can survive without crypto as well.
Makes a lot of sense. What's a morning routine or habit that contributes most to your productivity?
Not a morning routine, just sleep on time, get up on time, have your food on time, and be very clear, intentional with the number of hours you're working. I work only 5 hours a day.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I would like to get there too.
Intention, bana lo intention, ho jayega.
Done. I'm going to take that piece of advice. And speaking of advice, what's the best piece of advice that you've received that you'd like to pass on to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Oh, yes. So I received this advice in Jan this year on a flight from a stranger who's quite known, but I will not reveal his name, because he said, if you want to build something, right? Don't just be low-key, be no-key. Build in silence. Think of Aditya Chopra, Yash Raj. Just build. Fame is a byproduct. Don't think of your brand positioning and LinkedIn posts.
Wow, that's amazing. Favorite impact movie and why?
A lot of them, but latest, Mrs.
Wow, cool. Pure play content for the next 10 years or pure play investments for the next 10 years? Both. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Your most iconic line that you really like as an actor and why?
Which is something that resonates with me. Salman Khan's line. एक बार मैं commitment कर देता हूँ तो मैं किसी की नहीं सुनता. एक बार मैं commitment कर देती हूँ तो फिर मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनती.
Wow, that's amazing. What's next for Vishakha Singh that you're really excited about but haven't shared publicly yet?
So I'm producing the web series, which is a sports series in Kashmir. Can't reveal much. Should come out this year.
Amazing. Looking forward to that. Acting or producing, which gives you more creative satisfaction?
Producing.
Amazing. Most embarrassing moment on a film set that you can laugh about now?
I have a very embarrassing moment, which I will not share. I'll probably share off camera. But there was another, there was a dance sequence that I was doing for my comedy film in South India, and the co-actor's wig came off.
Oh.
So I don't know why I was apologetic.
Okay. Wow, very interesting. Crypto winter or Mumbai monsoon, which is harder to survive?
Mumbai monsoon, I dislike them. Crypto winter, any winter I can handle. I can't handle Mumbai monsoons.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If your life had a movie title, what would it be?
The Sorted Missing.
Very interesting. The app on your phone you can't live without?
Sansama, ChatGPT. Sansama is my productivity app. I simply cannot do without it.
Wow, fantastic. I think a lot of people would love that. Bollywood dance sequence or boardroom pitch, which makes you more nervous?
Bollywood dance. I once actually told a choreographer in South India saying, "Ye kya 1, 2, 3, 4?" And he was like, "Amma." I was like, "Oops." But yeah, I can't do 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Most valuable possession that you own, which doesn't have any monetary value?
Oh, all my family photographs. My mom's wedding sari, my niece's first happy birthday card in her baby language. My spouse bought me the first perfume, pink Lacoste from Dubai 20 years ago. I've still kept the empty bottle. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Strangest pitch that you've ever received from an entrepreneur?
Sent me the deck and said, I'd like to know how you can add value to my pitch deck.
Wow.
And I was like, confidence, very good.
Yeah. The last one. The superpower, your superpower in the business world would be?
Patience and no ego.
Amazing. Well, that's brilliant. Some amazing answers. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Vishakha, for sharing that.
I still get the hamper, galat answers bhi hote to.
No, I respect it. Thank you, but thank you so much. On that,
Oh, I thought that was a prop.
no, on that note, I did want to bring you this.
Oh,
This
how
is
nice.
a personalized gift hamper for you by Cupcake Design.
Thank
They're
you,
into
Cupcake
personalized
Design.
stationery. And they, by the way, they're based in...
This, like my modeling days.
Probably. But they coincidentally, they're based out of Bombay itself.
Oh, how
So
nice.
they personalize it and ship it to us in Bangalore here for the shoot.
How lovely. Thank you so much. This is really, really beautiful.
But I, by the way, loved the conversation. It was really amazing. So for folks who listened to all the amazing advice that Vishakha shared, again, very, very thank you. And if you want to build a career in this space, know that multifaceted careers are possible today. You have to put in a lot of dedication, effort, and specifically never to get into frenzy. So thank you again, Vishakha, for being here and sharing so many perspectives with us.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely fantastic, and I hope to come back again in the subsequent season.
Oh, for sure. Looking forward to that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Feel free to share your perspectives through comments, subscribe to the channel, and do send us some suggestions as well. Thank you.